Okay, good morning, good afternoon, or good evening, depending where in the world that you're joining us from today. Welcome to the first in a series of talks where we will hear from former participants of the World Technology University's Network Exchange Programme. The World Technology, I should introduce myself, of course, first of all. My name is Denise Whitehead and I'm the Development Manager at the World Technology University's Network. The World Technology University's Network is a global network of technology universities who are each committed to undertaking cutting-edge challenge-led research with the direct benefit to people and society and providing education for the next generation of global citizens who will have to respond to the world's 21st century challenges. Starting in the academic year 2018-19, the WTUN Exchange Programme has provided opportunities for member institutions to conduct activities stated in the WTUN MOU. And for more information about the Memorandum of Understanding and the subject of these exchanges can be found on our WTUN website. We welcome applications from all member institutions, and there are between 18 and 20 grants each year available of £2,000 or the equivalent for members of staff, both academic and professional services, and also PhD students to visit another member institution. Exchanges are open to new projects, initiatives, and teaching and learning opportunities, as well as those that have been involved in previous rounds and wish to utilise the funds to continue their work. Each of our speakers today has participated in one such exchange and has been funded by the WTUN programme to visit a fellow WTUN member institution, and in this case, each participated in the 2021-22 cycle. They've generously given their time to join us today from India, Thailand and Malaysia to reflect on that experience and share some of the technical aspects of their ongoing research focus. For those of you watching who may consider applying for the WTUN Exchange Programme later in the year, we hope today's session will inspire you to do so. And I'll soon hand you over to our first speaker. Today's session will feature 3 speakers and their presentations with a short Q&A between each and ending with a final discussion and a chance to ask further questions of all panelists. Today our speakers are Dr. Bakkialakshmi VS, Assistant Professor, Faculty of Computing Sciences at Hindustan Institute of Technology and Science, Dr. Tassaneewan Laksansopin, Director of the Hatch Student Incubator at King Mongkut University of Technology, Thonburi, Thailand, and Dr. Zaid Omar, Associate Professor, Faculty of Electrical Engineering, University of Technology, Malaysia. So, in a slight change to the running order for today's session, I will introduce our first speaker. Dr. Zaid Omar is Associate Professor at the Faculty of Electrical Engineering, University of Technology, Malaysia, as I said. Dr. Omar completed his PhD at Imperial College London in 2012, working on image fusion algorithms. Dr. Zaid's primary research interests are in image processing, medical imaging, and artificial intelligence. And he was a visiting researcher at the Centre for Visual Computing at the University of Bradford in the UK. He is an associate member of UTM IGN Cardiovascular Engineering Research Centre, and he brings with him a vast experience of managing research and consultancy grants and has collaborated closely on various projects, including the National Heart Institute, IGN, the Pharma Niaga Berhad, and the Malaysian Palm Oil Board. So without further ado, I'd like to introduce you to our first speaker, Dr. Zaid Omar.
Thank you kindly, Denise. Can everyone hear me? Yes, wonderful. Actually, we do have the Dr. Bakkialakshmi. Shall I proceed, or what do you think, Denise?
If Bakkialakshmi is happy for Zaid to go first, and then we will return to our usual running order. So I'll introduce Tassaneewan and Bakkialakshmi, as long as time difference is okay for you, Bakkialakshmi.
Okay, cool. So I'll start by sharing my screen. Open system preferences to grab access. Oh. It does seem that I need to change my system settings. I do apologize.
Okay.
I'll try again. Oh yeah, there you go. Okay, hold on. Okay, wonderful. Can everybody see this slide?
Very clearly.
Okay, fantastic. Thank you so much. So thank you kindly, Denise, for the very kind introduction, and thank you for inviting me to this sharing session. My slides or my session is entitled From Johor to West Yorkshire, my sojourn in the University of Bradford. So my name is Dr. Zaid Omar. I am an associate professor in UTM, Malaysia, and I was a participant of the WTUN exchange program last year, making my visit to the University of Bradford under the supervision of Professor Hassanul Gail, or my host was Professor Hassanul Gail. So in this short slide, in this short sharing session that I have, I'm just going to explain a little bit about my experiences and a bit about my research and lessons learned and so on. So this is me with my host. This is at Yorkshire Dales. I'm sure Denise is very familiar. This is in a rural Yorkshire, which actually is the home of my host, Professor Hassan. He lives in the countryside in Ilkley, if I'm not mistaken. Just a little bit about introduction to Malaysian academic landscape, because we may have audiences, participants from other countries. So I'd just like to introduce about my country. Malaysia is a multiracial nation in Southeast Asia with a population of 33 million. We are a developing nation. Our GDP, so to speak, is around maybe 10,000 USD per capita. And we are a member of Commonwealth. We are a former UK colony and a member of OIC and Association of Southeast Asian Nations. We have quite a good landscape of universities in higher education. 5 of our universities are in the top 200 of the QS rankings, including my university, UTM. In higher education as well, we have 1.3 million students throughout the country, 10% of whom are international students from nationwide. We have students from Indonesia, China, Middle East, India, Bangladesh, and so on. And research-wise, we are a leader in tropical research, Islamic finance, engineering, technology. And you can all see where Malaysia is in the map as such. Going more specifically into my university, UTM, we recently celebrated our 50th anniversary last year. We were founded in 1972, and we are located in, our main campus is located in the south of Malaysia, in Johor. Our vision is to be a premier university providing world-class education and research. Our focus is on engineering and technology. We are considered the top and the best engineering school in Malaysia, in the country. And we got a QS ranking of very encouraging 188th in the world. And of course, we are a member of the WTUN, which I suppose this opportunity comes from. We have 19 or nearly 20,000 students, 25% of whom are international, and 2,000 faculty staff. Now, going on into the WTUN exchange program, why did I apply for it and how did I manage to secure the funding? Just 3 points that I would like to share. First of all, it is a prestigious award because it's not for everyone, only available and open to staff or students of the member institutions. So WTUN, it's a consortium of a very prestigious consortium of the very best, I suppose, technology universities and technical universities in the world, so including UTM and other universities. And the award is, I guess, is a prestigious award if you do manage to, if you do manage to secure it. Number 2 is my host, Professor Hassanul Gail, is actually a very famous person. So he is a renowned researcher, and actually I found out about him. I came to know him from the news. He has featured prominently in news outlets such as BBC and so on, due to his work on facial recognition and person recognition and all of these AI, deep learning and stuff. I remember reading about his work on comparing Princess Charlotte with her great-grandmother, Queen Elizabeth. So using facial features and algorithms and engineering and stuff, he's able to do that. So that is Professor Hassanul Gail, and I was pleasantly surprised to find that he has also collaborated quite a lot with UTM previously. So he has visited my university. So I would like to sort of prolong that collaboration and collaboration with him. And number three, I guess, is after the pandemic, we want to travel. So the same goes for me as well. So I would like to sort of venture out and visit and try other locales and experiences as well. So I visited the University of Bradford for 1 week from the 11th to 16th of September 2022. And these are the list of activities that I did. So first of all, on the very first day that I arrived, I was treated to a lab visit of the whole faculty by my host, Professor Hassanul Gail. And he took me to the Center for Visual Computing, which was his own center. And he showed me around the research labs and the staff and so on. And I was quite encouraged, was quite impressed by the work that they do. And one more thing was that he took me to the other departments around the Faculty of Media and Communications, and one of which was this motion capture laboratory. So if you know motion capture in Hollywood movies and stuff, Gollum and King Kong and all of these motion capture technologies, it's also available here at the University of Bradford. And the interesting thing is that this department, this motion capture lab, is not under the engineering, or it's not under the technology department, but rather it's on the media side. It's on the media and performing arts side. But there is this wonderful marriage of Professor Hassanul Gail's own research field, which is on deep learning and artificial intelligence and engineering and stuff. But it's parked under the same sort of umbrella faculty or umbrella department as those from the arts side. So I guess that's quite an interesting marriage of arts and the sciences. As the days progressed on the second and third and fourth days, I was asked to give a couple of guest lectures. So I gave 2 lectures in total. The first was on my own research field, which was, the first lecture was quite specific. So it's directed to engineers and engineering researchers in this field of computer vision and image processing and artificial intelligence, entitled Pedestrian Attributes Recognition. And I will talk a little bit about my work later on in the slides. And on another day, I was asked to give another talk. So this one is more general, open to the whole department and faculty members of the university, entitled Sustainable Palm Oil Harvesting in Malaysia, an Engineering Solution. So again, I will talk a little bit more about that later. But just to show that both talks were received very encouraging feedback and responses. So I received a lot of good comments and suggestions on to improve my research. And also I was able to record my talks on social media. So it's all now, both of these talks are available on my Instagram and Facebook platforms for everyone to see and for me to look back on. Number 3 is a research discussion. So I did a lot of research discussion, I sat down with Professor Hassanul Gail. We talked a lot on collaborative efforts on joint computer vision projects. So just a continuation of my talk. So based on my talk and Professor Hassan, he understood, what he can sort of add to my research and my work. And we discussed ways forward and so on. So Professor Hassan, he offered to provide expertise from his side. And also I offered to manage the data set collection, getting the video footages and images and pictures and so on, and also to identify potential funders for our work together. And some bonus activities, which I managed to do. First was obviously visiting the Yorkshire countryside. So on the very first day, Professor Hassan, he took me on his car and took me for a ride around the Yorkshire countryside, and I got to see the lovely, beautiful countryside of Yorkshire. Number two was this, unexpectedly, there is a science plus media museum in Bradford, and I found out that actually a lot of the contents, a lot of the displays within that museum resonates a lot with my research work, and I'll talk a little bit about that later. And number three, of course, is a wonderful bonus that I get to see and meet the WTN staff, Denise and Joshua. I got to know that the WTN, the secretariat, is based at the University of Bradford. So I said to myself, I must visit them whilst I'm there. And I'm very happy to have met Denise because they helped a lot in my securing this award, this grant. So thank you to Denise and Joshua and everyone. So just small tips on securing the WTN exchange program. So this goes to maybe the audience out there who are eligible. First off is to go to the website and see what are the requirements and so on. And secondly is to anticipate the application dates and the designated department. So as far as I'm aware, the exchange program, it opens in around December of every year, and it closes in March, if I'm not mistaken, and the results come out in June. And the activity themselves have to be conducted between June and the end of the year. And also, please know your designated department within your institution. So in my case, in UTM, it was UTM International Office. So you have to liaise with them a lot in order to find the information and so on. Number three is to establish connection with the exchange counterpart. So you are visiting someone from the other university, from the other institution. So it's best if you're already familiar with them, familiar about their work, and contact them early, because you need their support, you need their signature, basically, in order for this application to get approved. And number four, of course, is the application form itself. The application form is not that long. When I counted, it's just a series of, I guess, essays or short essays, detailing what are your overall objectives, how does it fit with the WTN vision, what are your proposed activities, what are the expected outcomes, the impact of the visit, and so on. Here, I'm just going to very quickly talk about my research, which is computer vision and artificial intelligence. So I mentioned about palm oil. So one of the works that I do is we want to help the harvesters. Oil it's derived from the palm tree. So the palm trees, the fruits are on the trees, and sometimes the harvester, what they do is they cut down the trees. They cut down the fruits from the trees, and sometimes what happens is the fruits that get cut down, they are not ripe yet, they are not mature yet. So when that goes to the mills, the oil gets extracted and so on, you don't get enough oil. So that's bad because it's a waste, basically. So what if we can use artificial intelligence and computer vision algorithms, some smart systems, to detect whether the fruits are ripened or not. So that's what my work is doing. We are using all of these deep learning and color processings and stuff to detect the ripeness of the fruits. So of course, it promotes efficient and sustainable palm oil harvesting. So these are some of my results that we got. So in terms of accuracy, we have very good accuracy, but of course, these can be improved and so on. So we're trying to, what if this theory, this algorithm can be implemented on a drone, for example, or can be implemented on a smartphone. So we can really apply them in the field and to be used by the harvesters and so on. My second talk was about pedestrian attributes recognition, which is using AI to recognize a person's ethnicity, clothing, and gender. So this is suitable for law enforcement and surveillance. So what if you have a CCTV and a crime's been committed? So you want to find the persons of interest or the persons responsible. but rather than looking manually through the CCTV yourself, what if you can use AI to do that? So we can go through or sift through the hours and hours of video footage to find a person with short hair, with wearing black trousers, a male riding a blue bike and whatnot, and so on. So these are some of the works that I have been doing. So we want to detect a person, so we can use all of these fancy techniques. We can detect whether somebody is wearing a round neck or a collared shirt. We can detect somebody's skin color to maybe determine ethnicity, and whether they are whether they are wearing trousers or dresses. So all of these can be used, can be determined, and be found by using AI and computer vision techniques, which is what I do basically. So coming on to my last few slides, reflections on my visit. So 5 points overall. First is collaboration with academia and industry. So I found that Professor Hassan has a lot of collaboration, a lot of joint projects with industry. So he travels around the world, basically. He goes to Dubai, he goes to US to work together on a variety of different projects. So that's something that is quite eye-opening, because I thought previously that, academicians, lecturers, researchers, we tend to stay within the universities, but that's not the case. So that's something for me to aspire to. Number 2 is to be realistic in my planning. So if, according to my initial aims, objectives of my visit, I wanted to do a lot of things actually. But when the visit actually came to be, I had 1 week, and I guess it's not possible to do everything within that 1 week with the budget of £2,000. So I guess for prospective applicants, that budget of £2,000 is the same whether you're going to the UK or whether you're going to Thailand or India. So I guess if you want to sort of max out, stretch your budget, go to somewhere closer to home. So you can still do collaborative work, but maybe you can stay longer, or you can do a lot more with that £2,000, because the amount is standard. Number 3 is to find benefits in unlikely places. So I mentioned my visit to the Science Media Museum, and one of the displays was a digital camera. So it showcased the history, development of the digital camera. And I teach a subject in an undergraduate subject in Malaysia called digital image processing. And what I teach actually, those cameras are exactly what I teach actually. So I managed to get, first-hand information, first-hand account, real pictures, real experience of using the digital camera and its history and so on, which I guess will benefit my teaching in my undergraduate course. Number 4 is to expand my worldview and obviously see different cultures. Professor Hassan, he walks a lot. I realize in the UK, people walk a lot, definitely. And unfortunately, in Malaysia, we drive a lot. We drive everywhere. I go out of the house, I go into my car, I drive to work, I walk just a few steps to my office. But Prof. Hassan, he parks his car at the shopping mall downtown, and he walks all the way to the university campus, which is on the hill, every day. And it's such a chore to keep up with him. But yeah, that's a very healthy lifestyle, which I appreciate. And number 5 is one of the direct benefits of this visit was Professor Hassan. He has a collaboration with his native Maldives university, and his university asked him to suggest or to nominate a speaker for this conference, this international conference. And Professor Hassan was kind enough to nominate me as a keynote speaker at the ICAIA conference earlier this year. So this is me, as a keynote speaker. It was something which I never dreamed of being, due to the kindness of Professor Hassan nominating my name to be a keynote speaker. So that's wonderful. So I guess at the end of the day, thank you, Professor Hassan, and thank you WTUN as well for this wonderful experience and wonderful visit I have. And I hope to sort of use this experience to further enhance my career, my research, and give back to the community and to the research field. Thank you.
Thank you so much. Thank you so much, Zaid. That was such a wonderful overview of not only your time, of course, in Yorkshire, trying to keep up with Professor Hassan, walking everywhere, but it was I think it was a really good example of obviously the professional and the research side that you did, and the motivations, of course, that inspired you to apply in the first place, but also the benefits then that you have. And I'm sure all of our speakers will have experiences of this also, you know, the actual immersion and being able to go and meet people face to face, and especially after COVID as well, which you mentioned. I think you each participated as we were just emerging from that and restrictions were lifted. So I think no greater time when we all felt that we wanted to start making those human connections again. So that was wonderful. And I wasn't aware of the keynote that you had as a result of your connection with Professor Hassan in the Maldives. So congratulations on that as well. And I'd love to hear more about that as well, actually, as an impact that's come out of your collaboration with the University of Bradford and his connections with his home in the Maldives. I haven't received any questions from our audience. I have said that people can either ask questions sort of in between. I had a question and a comment, really, and because a couple of things stuck out to me in your talk, and one was really that partly from the image capture and the media subject at the university, but also the way that you're applying some of your own research around, you know, you might see Professor Giles' work, for example, around facial recognition, and the fact that that's then being, you know, having applications or things within palm oil extraction. It just struck me as a really good reminder and a really interesting example of interdisciplinary collaborations and expertise, and how sometimes these inspirations can come up in quite unknown areas. So again, I suppose, although we work at institutions and we know them fairly well, actually being a visitor and having that opportunity to be shown around may actually unearth some inspiration as well. And I just wondered if you had any comment about that, really, that the opportunity to be that, I guess, the guest, almost like a student coming to an open day, you know, having a walk around, whether that's, you know, something that you found really useful.
Yeah, definitely. I mean, collaborations can happen offline across continents and so on, and we can, you know, email, or we can find other people's work on websites and on Google Scholars and stuff. But I guess it does not compare with actually being there and being able to basically ask anything. You know, it's sort of like any small question, any small issue, that sort of any lingering research questions that you have. So I was able to elicit that from Professor Giles while I was there. So the 1 week that I was there, it taught me so much with regards to, you know, even some little things like the things I mentioned, collaborative between academia and industry. So Professor, he showed me some avenues, some platforms, some opportunities that without being there myself and asking in front of him, I wouldn't have known, you know. So so I'm very, very grateful for that. But you know, realistically, 1 week, I actually wanted to stay a lot longer, and but 1 week, I guess, is a good opportunity to get started. So I guess what's important is to continue to prolong this connection, this collaboration with Professor and others for the betterment of all, I suppose.
Great, that's wonderful. Thank you so much. I'm just going to ask if either of our panelists have any questions, although, as I said, there will be time for you to have a discussion at the end. So do either of you have a question for Zaid at all? Okay, in that case, I will move on. Thank you, Zaid. I hope you'll join us for the remainder of the session.
Sure.
I will move on to our second speaker. And so our second speaker of the day is Dr. Tassaneewan Laksansopin from King Mongkut's University of Technology, Thonburi in Thailand. Dr. Tassaneewan is the director of the Hatch Student Incubator at KMUTT. Currently holding 3 roles, should I say, also as assistant to the president of Innovation and Entrepreneurship, head of Hatch, the student incubator, and also a lecturer in biological engineering program. She has a PhD in biomedical engineering from Columbia University and brings with her a unique blend of scientific research and entrepreneurial passion. Driven by her commitment to improving outcomes, she has initiated new courses and activities to promote entrepreneurship education and develop entrepreneurial skills in students, which I think will lead us very nicely onto the subject of your exchange, Tassaneewan. So if you would like to start your presentation, the floor is yours.
Thank you very much, Denise. I hope the sound is not too echoing, right?
It's okay. Yeah, we can hear you really clearly.
Okay, good. Okay. Okay, I think. Yeah, we'll just take a couple seconds. Okay. Okay, all right. Well, good morning, good afternoon, everyone. Very glad to be here today, and especially very glad that Dr. Omar has talked a little bit, well, not a little bit, quite a bit of the WTU in exchange program, how you get applied to that, what you have to prepare. So, I lift that off, so I don't have to touch that much. So I will just only focus on this topic that I will talk about, which is related to entrepreneurial education. So I got the opportunity to visit York University in Canada. So that happened last fall. Briefly a little bit about why I am applying for this exchange in this topic, right? Because we want to develop the connection between HASH, which is a student incubator at KMUTT, with the Innovation York at York University. But it's not just because of that, right? I mean, if anyone here are familiar with the entrepreneurial related activities, education in the university, it's the movement that has been going on for, I would say, almost 10 years now. We see changes, we see improvements, and at the same time we see a lot of challenges, especially that occur after the post-COVID, right? I mean, during the COVID we see some challenges. Post-COVID we experience new challenges. So I think that having the opportunities to see other universities, how they execute the entrepreneurial education, entrepreneurial activities, that could spark some, insight as well as ideas that I can bring, develop at the university at KMUTT. Right? So that's the main goal, right? Is also we want to improve the ability to support innovation and entrepreneurial education. So I have to say that as Dennis mentioned, that my role has expanded a little bit, not just taking care of a student incubator. So my role also expand to cover other entrepreneurial activities as well as commercialization at the university. So seeing that bigger picture, it's not just a student anymore, but how do we encourage entrepreneurial mindset in everyone in the university, staff, lecturer, faculties, right? Not just the student anymore, and how we can push that, support that further. So I think that is something that seeing other university that has developed in the full scale can bring some insight for us to develop. Another note that York University is a good match because the size of the university, the focus of the university is very, very similar to KMUTT, right? In terms of the university, but in terms of the country is of course it's quite different, right? I mean, in Thailand and in North America, right? Well, apart from the university itself, I think Toronto, where York University is also very interesting startup ecosystem. That's why I think York University was, quite top of my list when I applied for this exchange. Toronto startup ecosystem is the third largest tech hub in North America. So after Silicon Valley and in Boston area, right? Within the Toronto itself, it has a lot of facility supports that bring a lot of entrepreneurs that want to set their own startup in Toronto. So it doesn't mean that they have to be Canadian. Half of the population in Toronto is actually expats. So they move from everywhere around the world. People feel very, very welcoming. It's a mixed part of cultural diversity within the city. I mean, I'm speaking from I did my PhD in New York, where people call it the big part of culture, right? Compared to Toronto, I think Toronto has more varieties, more diversity than New York City, as my own experience, right? So I think that is very attractive to a lot of expats that will want to move there, set their base there first in Toronto, in Canada. And if they want to expand to America or elsewhere, it would be a lot easier for them than setting their own startup in America itself. And because of, part of that, right, there are many numbers of incubators and accelerators. Over the past 10 years, I think it's expanded up to few thousand incubators and accelerators that supporting within the ecosystem over there. And with that, there are a lot of mentors, investors, networking with other startups. The ecosystem itself is very, very supportive. So I think that's part of it. That's why York University, within the Toronto, is very, very attractive to see that how everything support together. It's not just that, because the Toronto is not very far from Waterloo, where they have a lot of, if we're talking about, tech startup, right? A lot of science tech students graduate from there, and then they support talents to the area. As well as if you look at University of Toronto itself, they have, I don't remember, 7 or 9 medical schools, medical related schools within the area. So they have medtech available on that side as well. So it's a vast varieties that support, well, not just the varieties, but it's in terms of the components, factors that make the ecosystem very, very strong. So the visit itself, I had the opportunity to learn. Well, the goal is to learn, how to develop the entrepreneurship and as well as the business programs, support the business program within the university. And I focus mainly on the, learning the lesson, how they done it, right? How they have done that, what they have learned at the university, what they provide, what works, and what could be the challenges or anything that we could learn together. So I'm just going to jump right to the key takeaways, right? So hopefully that for the audience, if you're working in the area of development, entrepreneurial education or entrepreneurial supports, I think that could be something that useful for attendees. So the first key takeaways, the group of key takeaways that I got is to increase the student engagement. Even though we work, I myself work on supporting student startup for at least 5 years by now. But we know that with the trend change, right? With the current, we have a lot of social networks available, and a lot of students become more of those influencers, TikTokers, and those would be, the latest trend that, especially during the COVID, they have to stay at home, they stay by themselves. So that is one of the, drawing attraction from the student instead of developing a project or startups. At least that's what we have seen in Thailand. I think some countries may have experience at some level as well. But because of that, right, students have less engagement in startup activities or entrepreneurial related activities as well as education. So that's the very one of the very first challenge that we would like to attack right after the COVID. So in order to increase the student engagement, one thing I learned is that when we start any activities with students, right, ask them question why, right? So by asking them this question, it will help them understand or see their goal clearer, and that will make them understand their own focus, and they can engage in the activities much longer. So if they cannot answer their why, most likely they will drop out of the program, or just quit the program at the beginning already. So we those are kind of like part of the screening, right, in a way. So we don't really have to engage them, but those who can remain in the program, we kind of anchor them with this already. The second thing is that signing a commitment letter. I found that it's very interesting that at Innovation New York they make students and participants do that, signing a commitment letter before the activities, either short-term activities or long-term activities, like long-term programs, like incubation program. Signing a commitment letter is more like signing a contract, that type. So make students feel like, oh, okay, they already commit to this. So we're gonna commit, let's say 8 hours a week. We're gonna do this. We're gonna attend this program. So we're gonna do it, and that keep the engagement much more effective. And students are very familiar with activities, with the homework, right? With the homework, with the deadline, set deadline, that type of things. So when we design the activities, especially for those like long-term program, as incubation program, it would be a lot better to create like a checkpoint with the strict timeline, similar to what homework or term projects that students are familiar with. Because if we say that, oh, you are a startup, if you really want to do a startup, you have to show your commitment, right? You have to show your passion, how much you're willing to engage in this and that. And then the faster you do it, meaning that you are really committed to this, right? But in reality, students get many distractions, and the main focus for them is still the degree, right? Most of them, they're still focusing on the curriculum and the degree. So if this is the extracurricular activities and you don't set the timeline for them, the deadline for them, there are many chances that they might drop off. They don't see the clear, the goal for them, right? So it will be the moving goalpost syndrome, that type of thing, right? They keep pushing, and at the end of the program, they don't fully develop anything. The output of the program might not be very tangible. So having a clear deadline for them, having a clear checkpoint for them, will help them manage the extracurricular activities throughout the program. Another thing I find very interesting is that having a reflection journal during the program. So get students to reflect on their own learning. It can be about themselves, right? The way they understand the program, the way they understand the knowledge, the way they understand themselves in according to, back to the goal, the why. As well as, they can reflect in terms of the projects that they are doing, the startup project idea that they are doing, right? They can reflect on that too. So having the reflection journal help them develop much better. Another thing is it might be a lot easier to increase the student engagement if we can collaborate with startups, right? Actual startups. Students always get very excited when they get to work in real world, right? I mean, we working full time now. We kind of like, why you rush through your student life to go to real world, right? Because you're gonna have the real world life, real life experience for 30-40 years, right? I mean, we always say that, but then for students, 3-4 years in the university, they feel like it's too long. They want to have the feet in the real world experience. So having a project together with a startup, get students to work in the startup, get the real experience on that, they will really appreciate and increase the engagement so much. So instead of having the incubation program or entrepreneurial activities, setting in the academic setting alone, that might not be the best case, right? So if you can have similar setting, but put it in the actual startup, that will increase the student learning a lot more. And when we screen the students, so some of the programs that, let's say if you provide seed funding for students or any activities that have very limited seats, for us to screen the students, we can use the criteria. For example, we measure the aptitude, right? Skills, expertise, their experiences, whether it's matched with the project or not, with the program or not. But another thing that we should incorporate, which is the attitude, right? Measure the attitude. For example, their passion and willingness to learn. Because throughout the startup journey, of course it's not smooth, right? It's not going to be easy. So we have to make sure that they have this commitment, they have the passion, and they are okay with going through failures along the way, right? It's not just things that successful or go as planned in every step, but most of the time it might not be as they expect, and how would they handle that, right? Screening with their attitude on that would also help in terms of, with the limited seats. But you have to backtrack, right? For many of the activities that we have to do as the university, we want to incorporate entrepreneurial way of thinking, entrepreneurial mindset to students. So for the vast majority or the mass population, we might not use this, right? We don't want to, pick only the top into the programs, right? Those we will not use this criteria. But then for particular programs that we want to really focus, we want the strong commitment, right? And we only have few budget that we can support for them. That we might not be able to measure just the aptitude, but we have to incorporate the attitude as well. The key takeaways in terms of the what else we can do to improve the ecosystem and supports. Or in Thailand, the market size sometimes might be too small. So when the market size is too small, the startup don't see the opportunity to grow, and they will quit early on. So one way that we can do that, or one of the solutions that we can do, is to explore the market potential outside of Thailand, outside of the country, whether within the region or in this particular, we might want to explore the North America, right? So having this, that if we can have partners outside the country, so we know that we can expand to which country. So when we coach or when we guide the student or the team or the startup team, we can guide them to look into those markets as well. So if they see more opportunities, they see the way that they can go, they will carry on keeping their startup idea. So with the some of the certificate programs that we do, we can also construct it with the core course from curriculum. So instead of having a separate as the certificate program alone, but if we can, if students can participate, get that certificate, and they can reclaim the credit, right, as the required credit for their curricula or their degree, that would also be one way that can increase and expand the number of students that get into the program, right? As well as we can incorporate with other classes that are available, for example, in law school or in business school. In Wtun in particular, we only have business school, but we might be able to, let's say, collaborate with other program, other university that can provide into that. That could also be useful or helpful as the support in the larger picture. We can also propose a program that provide, let's say, funding or some kind of support to recently graduate students that they can build on their senior projects or their capstone projects, right? After they finish that, most of the time they, if they want to carry on that, they have to struggle in terms of the financial, so they might not want to carry on with that. They go to apply for a full-time job, right? But if we can provide some funding and support, they might be able to pick up their senior project, try to run it into a startup and see the opportunities from that. And the last key takeaways I have is that we can, because when we say that, oh, you know, we want to drive entrepreneurial activities, we want to become entrepreneurial university. One of the key things that we have to keep in mind is that the problems, the things that we solve should be some kind of larger impact, right? We cannot solve something that is only a niche group of people that have that problem, but we want to look at the multidisciplinary problem or wicked problems or something that is in a larger scale. So we can ask faculty members to provide some of the topics or some of the challenges that they may have experienced, like Dr. Omar, right? Use his own skill for different applications, that type of thing, right? So we can broaden that perspective to students. We can provide that type of challenge for them in terms of the big theme, so they can work on and develop their idea and eventually develop that into the startup. So I think some of these are the key takeaways that it's not only helpful for KMUTT, but I think it could be useful for any other university that would like to drive the entrepreneurial support or expand the support that you already have. And the next step that we are going to do, first thing that we're supposed to do, we're supposed to finish actually at with the exchange, which is develop the metrics to evaluate the startup in terms of the entrepreneurial development progress. So we only have, we only draft that out. We consult with the York University a little bit, but we haven't finished that yet. So so as of now, what we are going to do next is we are going to use that draft of the checklist, right, the metrics, try to implement that with the current program that we are running at KMUTT, get some feedback on that and see what need to be changed, and we consult back to the York University. We can also develop other programs and initiatives to facilitate, next-gen entrepreneurs. This is something that we are still thinking what else that we can do. So we might develop like a fellowship program or those CEO training program, that type of thing that can help. That also might also be able to integrate with other support in terms of spinning off from the research within the faculties, right? So normally the faculties are very busy; they might not be able to run their startup or spin off. So if we prepare fellowship program or prepare students to be able to run as a CEO, we might be able to match them together, and that would be something that as a successful startup or spin off from the university. We will need to improve the ecosystem and support for both entrepreneurial education and extracurricular activities. So this is something that we are currently we are having a team within the university that are laying out. We did the environmental scan already, so we are in the stage that we are proposing what else we can incorporate, what else we can do to keep running, keep expanding this entrepreneurial education to get into all students. It's not just only the students that have interest in that will be participate with us, but we want to ensure that majority of the students get into experience with the entrepreneurial activities. And the last thing is we're going to host an exchange visitor from York University, which is the deputy director of the entrepreneurship program at the Innovation York, which will visit us in November, this November. So with that meeting in the future, right, we're gonna exchange what we have planned, what we have developed at KMUTT, and get his feedback on that. And we will bring him to explore in terms of the ecosystem that we have, not just at KMUTT, but in Bangkok, in Thailand as well, to see what else that we can, potentially collaborate further, and what are other things that he see as the opportunities that we as already in Bangkok, we might not see that, right? But someone outside might be able to, spot something, guide us to that opportunities and develop some, new initiatives from that. Last thing, right? I have to thank WTUN exchange program for the funding, for the support, right? As well as the opportunity to connect with York University, which is the university that we haven't, as the university level, we haven't had opportunity to connect before, but not only this exchange program that we get to develop together, but we also get the opportunity to be part of the sustainable innovation program that they are running as a global York. So we will participate in that as well. Students at our university will get the experience of joining the program there as well. So I have to thank York University. So I have Dr. Sundarasan as the Associate Director of Global Engagement and Strategic Initiatives, who helped me initiate all the contacts, put me in contact with everyone at York University. Mr. Kwok as the Associate Director, who will be visiting us later this November. So he guided me through through the big picture of what York University has been doing in terms of supporting entrepreneurial and innovation. And Ms. Sidagat as the manager of the BEST program in School of Engineering at York University. So at the School of Engineering, they also try to have some of their own activities and programs to support as well. So at the Innovation York, that oversee the university level as well as outside partners, but at the School of Engineering, so they look at only students within the school, but they partner with business school, law school as well. And I also get in touch with Ms. Baudurama, Director of Global Engagement and Partnership at York University. So apart from York University, I also get to visit NUS Overseas College, or someone from the National University of Singapore who based in Toronto. So we get to chat a little bit, see the ecosystem that Toronto has to provide, as well as why NUS picked Toronto as one of the base to have the overseas program there. I also visit University of Toronto, which has the new test program, which is similar to Tech Transfer Office. I also did, visit the Mars Discovery District 111 accelerator. Both are one of the biggest accelerator in the area. So that's all I have for now.
Thank you so much, Tassaneewan. That was really interesting, and it was a good segue into one of the things I wanted to highlight about the WTUN exchange program is that very keen to explain that it's available to staff engaged in all kinds of different work within the institution. So we of course are very perhaps familiar with visiting researchers and collaborations with doing deep scientific research and collaboration on papers, but we're very keen to promote the idea that it's also opportunities to explore these kind of activities that are happening at universities, and also curriculum exploration and teaching and learning collaborations as well. And so I think that was a really good example of the different things that are open. So I also I'm aware that although the program is technically open to professional staff at universities, that we have seen fewer applications from professional staff than we have from academic colleagues. So if anyone is listening, I suppose, that thinks that they may want to go to one of the WTUN institutions to learn more about something like the entrepreneurship and innovation ecosystem, or perhaps it could be around something to do with estates and sustainability master planning, or it could be all sorts of working in the, I don't know, really a good example of library innovation, or things like this that you wouldn't necessarily think of as going on an exchange. We're open to hear from these things because we want to encourage these collaborations between the network. And I was really pleased to see that there's ongoing relationships with York and KMUTT, and it's also very interesting how relevant and current these conversations, as you said, it's not new, it's been 10 years, talking about innovation and entrepreneurship and building entrepreneurialism mindset, not only for students that want to be entrepreneurs, business owners, but actually embedding the entrepreneurial mindset into a lot of thinking as well, and then taking that further with thinking about spinning out and increasing things like fellowship programs. And I know a lot of our members, both in Thailand and in other parts of the world as well, so the University of Bradford, innovation entrepreneurship is very current, it's getting a lot of attention. So and we've seen not through the exchange program, but just from visiting or from attending Congress or from knowing that you have this network of universities that you can connect with and draw on. There's been some student visits happening this summer. I believe Coventry University and also Bradford have sent students to Suriname University, and they're doing some program there. And we've also had students from Alio University going to Bradford for a business school, summer school. So there's things happening across that network, and the exchange program is just one small way that we can engage our academic colleagues. I'm going to move on to our final speaker, and then we'll have some time for questions at the end, if I may. But thank you very much for your presentation, Tassaneewan. It was really interesting. I could listen to you talk about your experiences all day. Okay, so but with that does bring us very nicely on to our final speaker of today's session. And as I said, there will be some time just to ask questions of each other, and also perhaps as from our audience. Please allow me to introduce, as I said, our final speaker, which is Dr. Bakkialakshmi, VS, Assistant Professor from Faculty Computing Sciences at Hindustan Institute of Technology and Science. Dr. Bakkialakshmi, as I said, is currently Assistant Professor, having qualified with their PhD in Computer Science Engineering, but bringing with her 15 years of experience in teaching, research and administration. Bakkialakshmi, self-professed, passionate about exploring new possibilities, and citing her own participation as a WTUN-sponsored research exchange visitor to the University of Applied Sciences in Upper Austria as a particular milestone in her career to date. Her international visit profits from an international collaboration between partner universities with publication in proceedings and international research project collaboration. Her research interests carried in the field, of course, of effective computing, but also on emotional psychology. So without further ado, our final speaker of the day, please allow me to introduce Dr. Bakkialakshmi, BS.
So this is my warm welcome, and I'm wishing everyone a good day. And myself, yes, Bakkialakshmi, I would like to share my screen first. So I think I'm visible.
Yeah, we can see that.
So I'm from India. When I was traveling with this WTN research funded in exchange visit, I was a research scholar in Hindustan Institute of Technology and Science. So as a research scholar, I'm the first person who traveled from my institution to other country. Like we had faculty exchanges, students exchange, and mobilities, everything is there. But I'm the first person who were able to crack this thing. Like as a researcher, I was able to travel from India, that is my university, to like Hindustan Institute of Technology and Science. I traveled to Upper Austria, that is Austria. The university name is University of Applied Sciences, Upper Austria. So this opportunity, which I was able to grab through my university, but with the greatest support from WTN. This is not as small as I can say this is the greatest milestone whichever I have touched in my research period. That The reason is like, as a researchers, we will be looking for so many funds to have a benefit with our research thirst to be satisfied. The fund whichever I got received from WTN, that is nearly 2000 GBP, that with all the credits I can give to WTN alone. The reason is like, I got selected within a month, 2 months of time, like whichever we have applied, and the nation whichever I traveled, that is Austria. So that was my dream come true, because Europe is my dream come true destination, where after going to Upper Austria, I explored too much of things like the culture, the diversion of culture, how it is got implemented with these studies in the research oriented related things. So I would like to say the details, much more details. We fixed into the vision and mission of WTN, which was like international collaboration between HI institutions in the post-COVID of 2022. So my research is completely into emotional psychology, where we were into the analysis and analysis of emotions in the emotions of the people after the post-COVID things. So our research concentration is like this. And when this kind of research is going on, my institution, whichever I traveled, they are completely equipped and they are into that particular research with all the affective computing related emotion supplies. Like I can say they have enough a complete laboratory for my research things and stuff. And also my professor from here, I was being supervised from Hindustan by Dr. G. Muthu, and my professor in Upper Austria is Dr. Stefan Winkler. The awesome professors have crossed in my research period. So they have given me a very good support in taking care of my research to the next dimension actually. So after moving on to this particular research visit, I have explored my research to the maximum limit. This is a welcome note that is given from my Austrian professor, Stefan Winkler, that in our FHO site, that is University of Applied Science website itself, they have gave me a welcome note saying that I'm the guest from India as a researcher. So that was one of the pride moment. As soon as I entered the lab, I got this welcome message from them. So as a researcher, I felt very comfortable with the research group. So I have shared some of the photos here, my research group. These are my friends and colleagues in my research area, where I met with in my research. Bioinformatics is the research lab where I was collaborating with. And even though I was working in my domain, my professor gave me a very great opportunity that he was having already a funded project that belongs to an ICT project. So where he gave me an opportunity to explore. I was staying there in Austria for then 15 days. So in the 15 days and the effective 2 complete weekdays, he gave me a very good knowledge supply kind of. We explored the ICT project. So the ICT project I can explain here. This is a research collaboration we have done with Bioinformatics Lab, where it was a funded project from a tea company, where since I was working with the deep learning concepts in my research, my professor gave me this opening to me whether I can support and collaborate with the Bioinformatics Lab. So this was the research by phase we started there. When we were in the when I was in the Austria, I was started with the proper phase by phase implementation, how we are going to proceed further in the future phase. So the first phase, we designed there a real-time machine learning classification model over there for farmers. Like basically everyone knows about this. There's Austria country is completely a farming country, but technologically they are very strong. So we this particular knowledge, my professor he insisted me to learn something which is going to be a very practical real-time experiment. So we went to the farm, we explored it, and we collected the data sets, and the data sets are exactly from the farmers. And once we sit in our table with my colleagues, so we started working for classifying all the features first. So when this 2 weeks, yes, it is a shortest period, but I can say the shortest period of visit pushed me and elapsed me to the maximum limit to explore it. So we did, this was our face-by-face work we have done with my team in Austria. And one more biggest thing which has happened with my professor is like we had a great collaboration meeting with my professor in India as well as my Austrian professor. So this meeting was completely super good in meet and greet as well as the collaboration discussions between our institution, that which the mission we have took from the WTN, that is collaboration between HE institutions. So our institution and my professor's institution, my Austrian professor institution. So that was smoothly going on. All the MOU agreements are being processed so far, and it was we are also welcoming our Austrian professor to our university in coming recent times. So that is going to happen in future. So all the plans are going set up. So that is one of the greatest thing I had. And as our sticking on to the vision of our WTN, so we insisted for this collaboration to head of international affairs. There I met Christina Huber. She is a wonderful personality. I have met her. So she gave all the comforts, like since Austria has University of Applied Science has 4 different campuses. So they gave this opportunity to work with 2 different campuses for the collaboration. So which is with one is with Hagenbach campus and with another with this Wales campus. So that is really we Hindustan Institute of Technology and Science in India, we have 135 number of MOUs with other universities, and we have big collaboration. But this particular single visit with the help of WTN, I was able to make minimum 2 number of MOUs that I felt that I have able to add some crown stones to my institution's crown. So that is the cultural diversion which we had with my professor and Huber. So this is I can show this cultural diversities whichever we had between our different universities. So I welcomed my professor and international affairs Huber Christina with our own greetings and all the stuff. They gave me their own logo dolls and all the stuff. So this is one of the happiest days of my life, I can say, that is with Upper Austria. And the next one is another achievement which I was able to do is like I was able to participate in the conference which was happening in Austria at the same time. So I applied before, but the timing also exactly matched to me. So I was able to present a paper in Austria which was published on preprint done so far. So this is with a collaboration of my professor Stefan Winkler and my professor, Indian professor Suklay Muthu. I have done a collaboration there. So these and also in the photo you can see my another heartful person. He is Temur Kutesia from JKU University, Johannes Kepler's University, from RISC Institution. So I presented my paper in RISC Institution conference only. So I was very much happy to say that I met Temur Kutesha's professor. He gave me a very good vision of how the university got developed, like how the background of the university, how the professors built up that country after the Second World War and all this stuff. So when hearing of that and standing in that particular location, I felt very much happy that I was able to make myself also in the same place to stood there. And for that, I can thank Temur Kutesha sir as well as the fund sponsored by WTN and my professor Stefan Winkler. So those are the pride moments of where I was able to step inside Johannes Kepler's University for the paper presentation, and one of my paper is also presented lively in the institution, and I was able to get published in their reputed book journals. And these are the moments with my professor. I should talk more about my professor Stefan Winkler at Upper Austria. He is a person gave me a very good.
Oh dear. I think we may have just lost Bakkialakshmi. I don't know if there was something wrong with the connection there. I think you'll all agree that that was a really fascinating overview of her time there, and also once again providing the contrast between attending as an established member of staff, but also Bakkialakshmi was actually a current was actually completing her PhD when she applied and was successful for attending the exchange program. So it would be remiss of me, and it's definitely my role, to just remind any of our participants watching the replay that if you are a PhD student at one of the WTUN member institutions, you are also eligible to be considered for this program. Each institution every year has the opportunity to submit 2 applications to the program. So there is usually an internal process that will happen at your home institution. So the operational board member for your institution can be found on the WTUN website. And as Zaid mentioned at the start, that would be a really good first port of call for you if you're considering applying. Every university, I'm sure, will manage this process slightly differently, but there'll be some description of an expression of interest to your operational board member for the WTUN, and then of those, a maximum of 2 applications can be submitted to the pool to draw down the 18 or 20 spaces that we mentioned for funding. So we will look at the timeline exactly, but we anticipate the launch of the exchange program will be sometime after our annual Congress, which this year is taking place at our member institution in Germany, at TU Ilmenau. And that's in early October. So it may be that we launch this program slightly earlier this year. I'm not sure if Bakkialakshmi is going to be able to rejoin us, which is a shame. And I just wondered if there was any questions for our panelists. I think I haven't seen any in the chat. So I sort of don't want to just cut off in case she is coming back. However, we were drawing close to the end of the presentation there anyway. I had a question for our panelists, and in no particular order. My role, of course, is to engage with our member institutions to help implement some of the activities and drive to improve and expand our activities at the WTUN as our membership also expands. Having undertaken this exchange, and I think a theme is that you've all sort of touched on is that they're quite short opportunities in terms of how long you can actually go on exchange. What I wondered was if any of you had any feedback on how you think that the WTUN might be able to support ongoing collaboration, or whether there's an opportunity either within the exchange program itself or perhaps a side activity that might be able to support that. Does anyone have any thoughts about that? Welcome back, Bakkialakshmi.
Some network issues I faced and disconnected in between. I was an unacceptable moment for me. I was presenting, it was disconnected in between. Sorry.
It happens. We can't. Yeah, that's the one downside of these
technical difficulties.
Exactly. We can't avoid them. You came back in just as I was just reminding people about the opportunities, and also that you provide the perfect example that you were actually completing your PhD when you applied and were successful in undertaking the WTUN exchange. So it was a good reminder that it's not just for staff of our member institutions that PhD students, postdoc students are eligible also. So thank you for providing that insight as well.
I would like to share this word also, like since after this my research travel, I was able to make myself grow more in international collaborations and all those stuff. So now I was able to worked with all the international standards since I was worked with my Austrian friends. So I was able to work with all the international collaboration papers and stuff. And I'm happy to share that because of this opportunity, I was able to connect with my professor for PDF opportunity, like postdoctoral opportunity. So and also the reviews are going on. If that was also happening, this is also one of the credit I can give to WTN only, because of my research travel only I was able to make it happen. So and I would like to thank very deeply. Like I would like to show this 1 minute. So my heartfelt thanks to Janice for giving me this beautiful opportunity. To be frank, I should express this. When I was traveling, before traveling, I had this visa issues. Janice ma'am, definitely you would remember that issues whichever I crossed with the embassy. So she was the one, and Joshua Alad also have to join with this. They both stood for me for all the documentations, whatever the support I was asking them for the embassy clearance and all this stuff. So this is a very, very great opportunity for everyone, whoever watching this, whoever seeing this, looking for some funded research. For your research, this is one of the best place to find it out. So we have so much of choices to find out. Like I applied for 10 universities and I got reply from 3 different university professors. So we have so much choices of getting into our research to get completed. So I got a reply from Korea University and Thailand University, as well as Austria. As the thing which I can say, express very deep heartedly is like, we were really longing for going for an international visit. But I got 3 opportunities from different 3 universities where I was able to select my own choices. So this is because only of my host institution as well as WTN and my professor Stefan Winkler in Omar, Austria. He is the greatest personality who stood for me for all the 1 month of visa issues. So thanks to everyone over here, whoever supported me. And thanks to my host institution also. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Bakkialakshmi. It's as I said, this is the first of this kind of session that we've run, looking back and being able to bring people together. I joined the WTUN just over a year ago, so you were my first cohort of exchange recipients. So actually to be able to hear and reflect on your experiences is really wonderful. Before you rejoined us, I put a question out just to the panel, and it's not necessarily one you have to think to answer now, but maybe you have some suggestions. But it was just thinking about future impact and how the WTUN, the exchange program is just one activity that the WTUN runs, and there are other opportunities for collaboration. And my role is to maximize those opportunities and to assist and promote these collaborations. And I just wondered if maybe you had any of the panelists had any suggestions, or perhaps even just challenges to the WTUN on how we could maybe do more to support long-term impact via the collaboration of the network. So I don't know who wants to start.
Yeah, I'll probably maybe I can start. Of course, the WTN exchange program has been terrific. It's been amazing experience for me. Maybe 1 or 2 things that I can sort of suggest for improvement. I don't know whether this is possible, but if we can expand the visit to include non-member institutions as well. But I know that, because of the consortium, we would like to, keep it within the member institutions, but maybe if the places outside can also be considered. And because obviously there are, fantastic opportunities out there as well. And number 2 is if we can facilitate a pool or a matching scheme of hosts and visitors. So if WTUN can provide this database of those who are willing, those who are have the facilities and the means to host the visits, and those who are interested. So maybe rather than just us thinking about it ourselves, where to visit and so on, maybe we can have this pool or this database to select from. Yeah.
Thank you. And I think that is something, and it was going to be another question, but I probably won't, but it was around the availability and willingness to reciprocate in terms of hosting in the future. So of course, you've been outbound exchange. Perhaps there'll be an opportunity for anyone who's perhaps interested in some of the work that you talk about, if there's anyone that would want to come and visit UTM or to visit KMUTT or so. As I said, the operational board members are our channel into your institutions. But we will be revising and evaluating the program plan for prior to the launch for the next exchange. So that's definitely something that we could think ahead of, at least to give people a starting point. So it wouldn't necessarily, something like the pool could be a reference point if somebody doesn't know where to begin, for example, or, because some people may have existing relationships, but some may not know that much about some of our members and maybe missing an opportunity to collaborate on something that they don't even know is happening. So yeah, that's a really great suggestion, Zaid. I'll definitely think about how we can do that in a useful way for our potential exchangees. Does anyone else have anything to add? I mean, we're just about coming up to the end of the session. So
just a quick add-on from Dr. Omar. I think in terms of the program, it could be not just the exchange, but in terms of the providing funding for the research itself. For example, that let's say that the few universities want to partner up, propose a new research collaboration, research project, and then apply for funding, and then get that funding to actually execute that research project. I think that could definitely lead to a long-term impact. As well as one thing that I find a challenge everywhere, which is the knowledge sharing like this, right? How could we actually highlight sharing and this part? If we do it well, it definitely be the long-term impact. But due to very overwhelmed information that everyone has every day, how could we just capture, highlight things, and then share it in what channels? Make sure that within the network they are aware of that. They get into that. They don't have to reinvent the wheel on everything, right? But then certain things, like for example, that my own sharing, I think I would like other universities to learn from that too, right?
Great. Okay, well, that's wonderful. And I'm very impressed that we are almost exactly on time. So when does that ever happen? So thank you all for joining us. And I know we're probably creeping into some of your evenings now, as well as my day's just about started. So it was good to, my first order of the day was joining you all. So thank you very much for being so generous with your time. I know that you're all very busy. So to revisit, reflect on your experiences last year, and also hopefully provide some inspiration and some suggestions for future. And if without putting you on the spot, if there is any either within your own institutions or indeed some of our members, if there's anyone looking at this thinking about applying for next time, would you be happy to hear from any of our members about your experience?
Definitely, yeah, I'm open to it.
Okay, great. And we've already, Zaid and I spoke just before we started the call and made reference to the fact that we will, the Wtun will be actually visiting UTM next year, because they are the hosts of our 2024 Congress. So the network will be coming to Malaysia. So that's very exciting as well. Okay,
welcome.
We're going to experience some true Malaysian hospitality, which I have been fortunate enough to experience before, and it's definitely world renowned, I would say. Okay, so thank you very much again. If any of you want to follow up with me about anything after this session, then please do. But I would just like to say thank you once again on behalf of myself, but also the network, and I'm sure your institutions as well. So thank you very much all, and have a lovely afternoon.
Thank you, Denise. Thank you, everyone.
Thank you.
Bye.
Bye.
Bye-bye.